It's my honor and privilege now to introduce our representative in the Virginia House of Delegates, a hard worker, a hard charger, a believer in the freedoms that we believe in, a stander-upper for the principles that we share, the Honorable Charles Poindexter.
Thank you, Congressman Goode. Wow, what a speech. I've heard Virgil many times, but probably the best I've ever heard. It's good to see so many of you. Good to see so many of you out today. I need to say a couple of thank yous to start with to Bill Stanley, the Franklin Republican Unit, to the Smith Mountain Lake Women's Club, the Franklin County Women's Club, and all the volunteers that don't belong to any of those or maybe already belong to them. Thank you all for putting on the event. You do just really such a great job.
Right.
I'd like to introduce two people to you today. One is my legislative assistant, Miss Lindsay Bolling. Lindsay's from Pittsylvania County. She has quite a track record in singing and scholastic achievement as Miss Pittsylvania County Danville. She works in my Glade Hill office, and she helps me with a lot of issues. Lindsay, would you raise your hand, please? I should tell you maybe a little bit more. She's been on American Idol, and she's probably going to sing the national anthem for us in a few minutes. And my newest staffer, Tom Wells, standing beside Lindsay. Virgil got it right. There's a crowd in Richmond that would follow Barack Obama to U.S. Congress all the way down as far left as you can go and right on downstream. I've watched great deeds. I've watched Steve Shannon on the House of Delegates floor, and I've watched their Lieutenant Governor candidate. Let me start with the opponent to our Attorney General candidate, Ken Cuccinelli. Ken Cuccinelli is as straight as an arrow. The man started an engineering degree, went on to get his law degree, has been elected out of Northern Virginia 3 times. He stands up for the Constitution of the United States. He stands up for the Constitution of Virginia. He's protected us on eminent domain. He's got the support of law enforcement across Virginia. And he's not a flip-flopper.
Yeah.
He stands straight. He's going to make a great Attorney General. And I noticed yesterday in some of the literature came in on my computer last night late that his opponent, when he comes down this way and runs his ads down this way, talks about he's pro-Second Amendment. Well, guess what? He's running up in Northern Virginia now. He's running anti-gun ads right in his own backyard. He's a flip-flopper. We don't need him. We need Ken Cuccinelli back.
Right.
Bill Bolling. Young man grew up basically my friends with nothing, son of a coal miner, but he had parents that encouraged him, taught him principles, and just pushed him out the door to go succeed in life. He moved down after meeting his wife up in the University of Charleston, Jean Ann, wonderful lady, moved down to Hanover County, started a family, became a businessman, started working in the community on all kind of community projects, much as you do right here in Franklin County. Then his neighbors asked him to run for Board of Supervisors. Sounds familiar. Then they elected him chairman of the Board of Supervisors. And then later on to the State Senate for 2 terms. Served with distinction in every respect. A solid businessman, conservative principles, an honorable person. And then 4 years ago, he ran for lieutenant governor and pulled down more votes in that election than any Republican in a statewide election that year. And now I've watched Bill for 2 years, personally, conduct the Senate. Main job of the lieutenant governor is to preside over the state Senate and be capable and able and willing and up to date to stand in for the governor if anything happens to the governor. Bill certainly meets the latter qualification. But if presiding over the Senate, I have never seen a meeting after meeting conducted in a bipartisan fashion, fair to everyone. Everyone gets their thing. The procedures are followed, and he receives praise from those across the aisle for being a gentleman about everything he does. Bill is a real Virginian. We would do well to re-elect Bill Bolling for lieutenant governor next year. just a little about his opponent. I've been around Jody Wagner too, and first thing I learned in 2008 when I went to Richmond is she was the person in charge of making estimates of revenue for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Well, she made them real high, and the governor set the budget at that, and although we in the General Assembly fought that, Bill Bolling stood up and said, it's not going to work, revenue's going down, but that's the way they wanted to do, borrow more money, spend more money, and raise your taxes again. Then 2009 came along. She'd already done most of the work. She actually left office just before the revenue estimates came out. But they were horrible. And that's driving a lot of the budget problems that we have in Virginia. So we're going to send Bill Bolling back. Now, I can't say too much about my friend of several years, Bob McDonnell. Bob grew up in Northern Virginia. He went to elementary school there and high school, then went on an ROTC scholarship to Notre Dame University, and then went on to spend 21 years in the United States military. Bob has a great affinity for veterans. He's been at the Franklin County Memorial Veterans Parks on several occasions, and even placed a brick in honor of his daughter that served in Iraq in our own park right here in Franklin County. He established something new in Richmond, the Wall of Honor, to honor any American soldier, lady, man, whatever, that lost their life in either Iraq or Afghanistan, anywhere in the Middle East. That wall of honor stands through two walls next to the hotel that I live in when I'm in Richmond. I go over and view it often. I drove all the way to Richmond one hot 95-degree August for the dedication of that wall. Bob McDonnell is committed to the preservation of the United States, its Constitution, preservation of the Commonwealth, and our Constitution. But he goes much further. Bob was one of the greatest delegates in the history of the House of Delegates. He carried the great legislation that George Allen proposed back in the 1990s. Things like welfare reform and parole reform and making business more business friendly and reducing regulation and keeping our taxes low. His ghost still walks in the Hall of Delegates as I work there each day for you. But Bob is deeper than that. He went on to become our Attorney General. And never in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia has an Attorney General proposed as much legislation. I think it was 94 bills that he asked the General Assembly to pass. And with bipartisan spirit, 85 of those bills were carried through the Republican House, the Democrat Senate, and signed by a Democrat governor. That's the kind of man we need that can work with everybody and lead us forward, yet retaining his principles. So we've got to send Bob McDonnell back. Thank you. I suppose I should say something. We have a fourth candidate on beside Bob and Bill and Ken Cuccinelli. What's his name? Poindexter, I think it is. Yeah! I am one of that. It's been an honor to represent you the last 2 years. Your support, your contacts with me with issues, and coming down to see Lindsay at the office and making sure we try to help you with any problems you have. It's just been a real honor for me, and I'm just real privileged to do that. But I do have to run again, and I would like you to come out next Tuesday. I'd like you to push that little button on the computer that says Charles Poindexter.
Hey, yeah.
Thank you so much. Now this is going to be, when I look back in elections, and we all say every time we get up here to talk that this is the most important one, and we can look back in history, and hindsight's a whole lot better. I'd really be a wealthy man if I knew what Smith Mountain Lake was going to be today, back from 30, 40 years ago. But this election's about the future. And the way we're going to win this election is with each and every one of you. Talking to your neighbors, putting up the signs, helping on phone banks, all the things that we do so well in the campaign in the Republican Party. It's going to be up to you now in the next 3 or 4 days to make that last leap, that last jump. And I do encourage you to work hard. We have signs in campaign and literature all around. So let's don't slow down until after 7 o'clock next Tuesday. I thank you for all coming out and for the warm welcome we've given us all.